Is it on? Yeah. Now, some of you will already know me, and some of you will wish you didn't. Some of you won't believe anything I say, and I know that. But then it doesn't bother me. I don't have to know who knows what. I know what I know, and that's all I know. Now, I'm 93 years old, and my one and only hope is, the whole thing I'm hoping to live for is that I can see the day when Nelson and Jeanette MacDonald get the true story into the world. That's where it belongs, and I'm going to do all I can, which may not be much, but I'll do what I can do. They were the two most beautiful people I ever knew, and I don't think there are any more beautiful people anyplace. It would be a crime for him to go down in history as the ordinary people that they appear to be now. They were not ordinary in any sense of the word. They were very unextraordinary. As a matter of fact, now that I look back on the whole thing, I used to think that all the things that happened to me, you've always wondered why I knew so much about Nelson Eddy and Jeanette MacDonald. Well, it sort of just happened, or did it? I used to think that it happened, but now I'm not so sure. I don't think it just happened. I believe everybody may have something that they're supposed to do in life, and if they follow their intuition, they will find out when the time comes. I firmly believe that now, after all the things that I've gone through. Now, I know absolutely that what I know, and I will not say, if I give you any quotes in anything, it will not be something I've heard or somebody said or any kind of gossip. It will be fact. I myself had heard it from Nelson or Jeanette or from one of the few people who I considered my family. So we considered a family in those days. We were only 3 or 4 people, and we knew everything. But we were so tight-mouthed that we wouldn't tell anybody anything. So that's why I read down in the history as a sort of a queer person. I wouldn't talk. I did talk to one person. Yeah, I did talk to one person, but and I don't know yet whether I should have. I really broke a promise when I should not. I said I would. I read Isabel Eddy's own letters, and I know exactly what she thought and how she felt. And this is why I know so much about Nelson. I know how Nelson was brought up. Isabel was almost Victorian in her idea of goodness and be the right way to live and all that sort of thing. And she saw to it that Nelson was brought up exactly in the same way. So that's why I know I can know all the things that happened to him that might not have happened if he'd have been a different kind of a person. Now, I know that the story of Nelson and Jeanette, it seems like a very sad, terrible thing. But it is not as terrible as it sounds, because Nelson and Jeanette had something which a very few people in the world ever had. They knew the truth of themselves. They knew exactly what they were. And in fact, Nelson said to his mother, talking about Jeanette and himself, he said, we were Mr. and Mrs. Eddy and Miss MacDonald for not one day at that. We were so close until we were close as the covers of a song. And so he said, for this reason, I know that we're one person in two parts. You see, Nelson investigated the ancient wisdom, and he knew all these things. Some of them he accepted, and some he didn't, or he was just trying to decide. He said, we're one soul in two parts, and someday these two parts will come together, and then we'll be able to live the right way, the way we should. But we have to earn the right to this. That's what he said. He said, we'll have to earn the right to this, and I don't know how. So, for this reason, it was not surprising to me that when things happened, I knew what his fear was. He didn't have a fear. He had no fear of anything. Nelson was self-sufficient. He was self-sufficient. He didn't need anybody. He didn't think he needed anybody. At the middle, as he started out, he didn't. But he hadn't counted on little Miss MacDonald coming into the view. It was understood long before I ever knew it. I think they ought to go all back to the very beginning. I know why Nelson and Jeanette are famous. I know. I was in New York when she was taking dancing lessons, and all that should be known. That should be known, and all that. But that's all besides the point, and it shouldn't have to be in these days. I mean, I know I knew Blossom just as well as I knew anybody that I met that time. And she was just good, and it was kind. And Nelson himself always used to say, these are the things that ought to be said. Nelson himself used to say, Blossom's the only one in the whole outfit that's worth a darn. He said, he said, we don't know how in the world Jeanette never got into that family. She's not like any of them, not any of them. And she wasn't. But when I know what I know spiritually, I know why. She was attracted to this old woman, or her mother, because it's so determined to have a person, a daughter in the theater. She was so determined she practically made her three kids. She had a boy and two girls. She had a boy and Blossom, and the other one was Elsie. Yeah. Elsie and Blossom and this boy, and I don't even know his name because I never knew him. I just knew he was a brother, but he never had anything to do with what I knew, so I didn't hear. I just knew he had a brother, that's all. But all I remember Nelson saying, the only one in the whole family that's worth an arm is Blossom. Yeah. And she used to say she was a great kid, great person, and she was. I knew that too. So I can say that much with truth. I can say it. Everything like that is true because I was right there and I know. She took me all over every place that Jeanette and Nelson had been. She took me all these things to see these places. So when they decided that they were going to work together, well, it never did. I'll say right here now, from the beginning, it never did. Apparently, this little bit I told you, you'll know that they never did fall in love with each other. They just were in love from the beginning. From the beginning, they didn't seem to have anything wrong between them in the beginning. Not anything wrong, but there's such a perfect harmony, complete harmony, everything was complete. And that lasted right on through their whole, and the reason they were so successful was that they didn't have to pretend anything. They didn't pretend anything, they were just themselves. They fell in love with the characters they were doing, and they just were. That was what was the secret of it. Nobody understood. Everybody called it a strange bond that seems to be between them. They just seem to get along, but it seems like they can't get along without each other. And that's what happened to the world, too. Everybody started writing letters saying we want to see Jeanette MacDonald and the others together, or we won't see them at all. We just won't go. That it came to the point where they had to make a decision. They didn't know what they were going to do. Mr. Mary said, well, we can't make him unhappy. And the public want them to get married. Oh, yeah, that's all right. Just let them get married. And but they both said, no, they didn't want to be married. They didn't want to be married. And they really didn't at that time. They were both telling themselves that they wanted a career first. Then after time. Plenty of time for other things later on. But it didn't work that way. After Rosemary, oh, Lord. Just everything. So that's when Nelson, after Rosemary, he was so terrific until after he went on tour. He went on tour after every picture, you know. Then he went on the tour after Rosemary, and he came back with a diamond and a solitaire. And then he kept those all his life in what his mother called his treasure chest. When she had to give it back to him, and he put him in his treasure chest. Well, that was the end of it, of the publicity. Then you never heard any more about it. There weren't going to be any. You just heard about the pictures. That's all. So that's all what they really wanted anyway. That's what they wanted. The fame of the pictures, and they got it.
About Jean.
Oh, Jean? Well, I can only report what Jean's reputation was not good. I remember long in the beginning, before I ever thought of such a thing as a marriage between them. I never thought of such a thing. They've just lied about everything I say, so it won't make much difference.
Well, you're going to be criticized anyway.
Oh, boy, I could tell plenty of bad things about him if I wanted to.
Like what?
The honeymoon. The honeymoon should be in the book. It's one for the books. Maybe he really got his punishment from the fact that he wasn't and couldn't be anything, no matter what. Public didn't accept him, no matter what. Maybe that's one way he got it, because he loved publicity. And if he couldn't have it, of course, that hurt him. He might have gotten a lot of misery out of that. And just the fact that to live like that and still be all right and still not have anything happen, not possible. He just put everything apart for money, anything away for money. Anything for money. See, there's a lot of things that I know were true, but I can't prove it, and I don't know how much. I don't know how much they gave Jean to shut his mouth, but they gave him so much a month to shut his mouth. So he would keep his mouth shut and do what they said. And they made him a list of things he had to do. And I know he did it. There was no actual arrest recorded, but some people who said they knew all about it said he was on the police blotter a lot of times, several times, that he had a bad reputation. I know that. Well, I don't know for what, because whatever was the police were after him for, I don't know. But it was probably homosexual stuff. Maybe meetings or something, that he was going to. I don't know. See, that's the thing. I don't know anything about that. There's so much I don't know until there's not much I can say that I do know. Because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say I don't know something if I know it isn't. Oh, yes, you would. But how can I prove that? I can't prove that. I don't know it. But,
what do you know?
But I remember Nelson himself saying, well, they were talking about her, he's expected money for this or that. And he said, well, you have to expect that. She's lived off of her ever since she's been married to her. He said he's used her money ever since she's been married. That's awful to say anything like that about Jim when he's still alive. That's what I don't like about him. I wish I'm not going to let it get that bad unless it has to. I mean, that's too bad. Because I really think Gene is not only reformed, I don't think it's the reform. I think he's very sorry, a very bad person. He would have to be. He couldn't be anything else. Killing 2 people. Of course, he wouldn't admit he didn't kill, but he did. She didn't know it. She felt it. They were out riding. She and Nelson were out riding one night. She just had a vision, a feeling that it was wrong.
Anne was killing herself.
No, she only knew that something was wrong. And she knew whatever was wrong was up at the other place where Nelson and she had been, but they weren't. They were back in the riding. Of course, there was not time for the doctor to do anything there, so he had to have help. It was not time. He didn't have time to call a nurse to help him. So he told Jeanette to come on with it. They got her in the house, and they said, well, they pumped her stomach and got it. The doctor did that and got it all out. Jeanette, not being accustomed to do anything like that, had to do what the doctor told her. They run and get water and get this and get that, and what a nurse would be doing. But she did it. That's why she said they saved her life, I guess. And he said there's no need for her to have to know anything about it. She'll be all right. But he said, we'll keep it out of the papers if we can. So they did, as far as I know. And but right after that, they had a siege, and then terrible seizure. The fact that she decided that she was an invalid. And then that's the way she acted it. And she'd tell the doctor that she didn't know who she was. She didn't even know who she was. That if he'd called Nelson Eddy, he could probably tell her. Yeah, that's the way she worked that for a while. And another thing she did when she first got married, she called people up and told them that Nelson was expecting to see them for dinner that night or for lunch that day. And she'd have people in there that didn't know a thing about it. And it made him so furious, he was just ready to kill him. So I don't know how they ever stopped that, but I guess they got it stopped somehow. Probably because he refused to come home. When they told him he had to come home, he just wouldn't come. Well, anyhow, I guess they had a terrible time. Now, this is all that I know. I don't know anything about it. Yes, and Anne was almost unstable, that they couldn't trust anything she said. So, this made it very hard for Nelson. He had to just absolutely try to decide when he had to go and when he didn't. Finally, he said, I'll see that somebody's here with her, but she'll have to do it without me. I'm not going to be here all the time just because of this. That's what he did. So, now then, from there on, I don't know where I can lead into that. Except that Anne was such a problem that they never could meet. And Jeanette tried every way possible to make it a little bit easier. She offered to take her to the studio and let her watch her make a scene or something, make the interest her in something. She didn't any part of it. She wasn't interested. So. Everybody I knew was all that. There were 3 or 4 people who were with me from the very... Now, this is where she's going to want me to explain. My friend, Betty Houghton, was very close to me. We were very close. We were just like 2 kids together, you know. We knew everything. One knew, the other knew. Betty had already seen some picture of Jeanette MacDonald. and she was crazy about Jeanette MacDonald. And but then we talked about all the things we were interested in. We talked about fan clubs. And she said, "Oh, Nelson Eddy has a good fan club. You ought to join that." So I joined the Nelson Eddy fan club. So we went to one of these concerts. I have no idea what it was now, or whether it was a concert. Could have just been some program or something he was on. I don't know, but I heard him for the first time. And I thought, oh, I just fell head over heels for that voice. And of course, Jeanette I already knew about because it should come in the first of the story, which it wasn't. I was in New York, from a little town in Arkansas. I knew that I had to get out of there. I had to go to New York, and I had to go to California. Those were the two things I knew. Well, after I finished high school, I was allowed to go to St. Louis to school. There I learned dancing and music and everything to teach. And my husband was a schoolman. He was a principal in a school, and he was ambitious. He wanted to finish his degree and get a better job. He had at that time a principal job, but he wanted a superintendency. So we saved it. I started teaching dancing, and I thought I would help him out. We saved his salary and my salary, which was not much, but it was something. And we saved it for 2 years. We saved all we could find. And my mother was interested in everything we're doing, so she said, I'm going to give you some money to go with you if you have to go. And that's what she did. So we went to New York. And that's where I immediately went into a school of professional dancing, and there I met Blossom MacDonald. So I knew all about Jeanette MacDonald being there. Blossom took her to New York and introduced her to Ned Rayburn and told him, and he immediately saw her possibilities. He said, she's going to be a great star. She's going to be one of the greatest stars there is. And sure enough, it turned out exactly. And I can go into such millions of other things, the way she looked in Kansas City when I thought she was dying, thought she was going to die. Just as beautiful as she ever was. I saw her out in the yard, and with the people who were with you were there. Yeah.
1950, what, 4?
I don't think so, but I don't know exactly the year. I don't know the year.
The King and I.
Did you see it one night, just one night, or? I saw it one night. I didn't see it 2 nights. I guess we didn't see the third night. I was afraid the third night she was going to fall out. Because she did the second night. The girl on either side of her got on either side of her, supported her, and she got through it. But, if you think that wasn't beautiful, that last scene. Oh, those girls on either side of her were supporting her, holding her up, because she couldn't, and she was singing. That was the last I ever saw her on the stage. The last thing. I haven't got a thing bad about Jean in there. I just can't forget that. But she was in it. It ought to be in it. What it should be, though, is from the beginning. What it should be in it is when it really happened. That's when she was hysterical, and Jean had to call Nelson because they didn't know what to do with it. She was hysterical, and Nelson tore her over there. It's according to Isabel. Isabel said he got there and nothing clapped from what he said, and he just held her in the big chair by the window until she got quiet. And then she was very quiet. Then he he just held her until she went to sleep, and then when he knew she was gone, he said she was exhausted. She'd cried and carried on, and so he put her back to bed, sat and held her hand until she was gone. Till he left in the morning, and she was gone. He went over and told his mother. His mother was so, she didn't know what was going to happen. But she never knew what was going to happen for Isabel. She didn't know. That Jean would always say, "Oh yes, it's not, I can't, I have to have money. You have to, now you did this and you did that, and you didn't help me. Anyway, you know I don't have a job and I don't have any money to go on, and you have to do it." And this was what they were up with all the time. So for a while, Nelson took that, and then he got sick and tired of it. And then after he got tired of it, decided Jean wasn't trying. Well, then he didn't stay nice anymore either. He said, "Well, if you're just going to be a blackmailer, if they told you you're a blackmailer, then we just might as well give you some money. Give me some money and be done with it. We can't do anything with you." Well, anyhow, the divorce never went through, no matter. Constantly, ever since that, from that day on, they tried to get the divorce. Wouldn't work. It was exactly the same thing that happened with Anne Franklin. She said absolutely no. And that was that. And when they say that, and there's no, you can't do anything about the law, you can't do it. Or anything, you just take the car and go up to see where they were, everything. At the time, we'd meet somebody coming down, coming up or coming down or something, so we saw the whole thing. Jeanette had such a beautiful profile. I remember one day when we were going down, she was coming up in her car. And oh, this profile was so beautiful. I just thought, my God, we know how beautiful she is. I always remembered that one trip. See, those little things are why I know so much that I don't have to wonder about. I saw it.